Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of CPAC Live on just a little bit before Mother's Day, a very important day for all of us who adore our mothers and our wives and our grandmothers and our sisters. It's a pretty special weekend. And the other problem is the great thing for us guys is we're really off the hook because we really can't buy anything. I mean, I can't see a florist that's open, and all the stores are closed. So I think I'm going to get a little bit of a hall pass on gifts this year. But I know I'll get chastised for saying that from someone, because they'll say, no, you can go here and go there. Anyway, great to be with you again. We have a great show for you. We're going to have Katie Pavlich on with us in just a few moments. But I thought I'd just let you know that, we're really impressed with what's going on out there. I think most of you are appreciating a respite from your day if you're in a state with a panicky governor who believes that you can't even get your hair or your nails done in a safe way. And so at 3:30 in the afternoon, join us each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we appreciate you being with us now. And our viewership has really taken off in just the few episodes that we've done. You can watch us, which many of you are doing now, live on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Facebook Live. And of course, follow us on Twitter at CPAC. And it's always great to go to our website at conservative.org. And if you click on the link for the show, you can sign up and receive notifications, reminders each time the show is going to go live, so that your ability to access the show is even quicker. So thanks for joining us. We're having a lot of fun doing the show. Unfortunately, maybe life is changing a little bit, and this kind of digital way of communicating will be sticking with us. I know I have 5 kids in school right now, or maybe they're just getting done, and our Wi-Fi turned off this morning, which caused complete havoc. So it's very interesting, but maybe we're all going to figure out different ways to get information, and CPAC wants to be on the cutting edge of all of that as we're trying to figure out what is truth. So without further ado, I want to bring in Katie Pavlich, who's an editor at Town Hall and someone that the CPAC community has a great deal of affection for. We love watching on our TV sets all the time, Katie, and one of the reasons I respect you so deeply is that there are a lot of people who are pundits who read talking points and read cue cards and all the rest. And that's just part of television. By the way, there's a cue card in front of me, so I should be careful about being too harsh on people. But you're a very smart person. You're passionate about all kinds of important issues. We love reading what you write. And the reason why you work so well with CPAC is because you have that component, as well as being a wonderful on-air personality. So thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for the very kind introduction. I have a lot of respect for you, obviously, and for CPAC, so thank you guys for having me back, and looking forward to when we can get together in person with all of our supporters at CPAC as well, whether it's in DC for the annual convention or one of the regional conventions as well.
Well, we're going to be back on the road, okay? I make that commitment. I mean, we understand that the president had to take steps to make sure that he confronted this outrageously kind of frightening virus outbreak that really, as you know, in the news, it kind of popped the week after CPAC, and CPAC was right in the middle of that. Mm-hmm. And it was stressful for all of us, stressful for the people who actually ended up getting Chinese corona. So we don't want to be unsympathetic. By the same token, we got to figure out a way to get back to life and for America to turn on the lights. And so we'll be back on the road. We promise you, Katie. Now, as I told you, I have some people over at my house trying to work on my Wi-Fi, and they're also working on our audio system. So every once in a while, if you hear some strange music in the background, it's not because CPAC is experimenting with movie making skills. It's literally because music is turning on and off.
It's just Friday fun. We're getting the Friday happy hour started early.
We're live. This is the way it goes.
Yeah.
So Katie, quickly, there's so much going on in the news.
Yes.
Mike Flynn, let's start there, because Mike Flynn is someone that a lot of us have deep admiration for. When he walked into that courthouse and pled guilty, I was kind of disappointed, because I thought, well, I really admired this man, a 3-star general, someone who served his country for decades. It's kind of too bad that he might have done something wrong. And now go forward a few years, it was all a load of you know what.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point this out because a lot of people on the left are now saying, well, of course, Flynn was guilty, and this decision by the Justice Department to drop the case is highly political because he pleaded guilty. Well, he pleaded guilty because the DOJ and these awful, terrible actors who wanted to close the case, and then Peter Strzok said keep it open, the seventh floor, aka James Comey, and people higher than him at the time. This is back in December of 2016 and January of 2017. They were going after his son. And they were threatening to look into him and to engage in some kind of criminal investigation against his family. And given the fact that they were engaged in a criminal investigation against Flynn, even though they didn't have a case now, we know, with all of the evidence that we've seen with the 100-page document that came out yesterday about why DOJ is dropping this case, of course he pleaded guilty. I mean, anybody would. He was going broke. He lost his house. He had to move.
He lost his house.
He wasn't allowed, his reputation was completely destroyed.
His son was getting squeezed, so they were going after his family members.
Yep, he couldn't work because his reputation had been completely destroyed. And so there's a reason why that happened. And also, there's big questions too about, well, if he's innocent and didn't do anything wrong, then why did the president fire him? Well, I would assume that the president was given information by the FBI at the time, that the FBI came to the president and said, excuse me, sir, your national security advisor has lied about this phone call. And given that President Trump was brand new and he thought he could trust the FBI because we didn't know about any of the things that they were actually doing behind the scenes, he took that advice as, okay, well, if the FBI, with the integrity and dignity of that law enforcement agency, well, it's a shame, but it seems like I have to fire Michael Flynn. You get fast forward almost 3 years now, and we know that the FBI basically entrapped Michael Flynn. And you listen to what Mike Pence has been saying. He's like, right, based on what I know now about the context of the situation, I don't think he lied at all. So
right,
that kind of gets back to decisions.
Katie, the thing that I want to remind people is that the president calls these guys dirty cops. It's the less than 1% bad actors in the FBI. As you know very well, most of the people, the 99%, are dedicated law enforcement officers who follow the book and treat people with the proper constitutional respect. But it's not just Mike Flynn who gets hurt. And I think Mike Flynn deserves financial compensation from Jim Comey, who's a wealthy man, and his wife is wealthy, and from these other people. He should go after them. Not because as a conservative I like people going to court, but this has to stop. Yeah. But Katie McFarland was his number 2 at the National Security Council. Look what happened to her life. She had to go hire all these lawyers. She had her life destroyed. Michael Flynn's wife and his family, they had their lives destroyed. When people break when a government official breaks the rights or impedes on the rights of an American citizen, it has a ripple effect of destruction. Thank God no one did the ultimately tragic thing of like taking their own life and stuff. Right. But those things happen when government runs roughshod over people. That's a part of this story too.
Right. And, I started my career in Washington covering the Fast and Furious scandal. And when you talk about the good guys at the FBI versus the 1% like James Comey, who are making all these bad decisions and using the power of the federal government and law enforcement agency to go after political opponents, I call it the suits versus the boots. The suits, the guys with shiny shoes and the nice, suits who are going to work in headquarters every day are very different than the guys who are wearing scuffed up boots and doing all the work out in the field, who aren't interested in politics, but really interested in running down the bad guys. But I think the biggest news yesterday, Matt, that came out of this document dump from DOJ and from a lot of these transcripts from ODNI and Adam Schiff yesterday is that Barack Obama knew exactly what was going on. So he always the past about, well, the president, of course, wouldn't know anything about what was going on at the FBI they always blame rogue agents whenever there's a scandal, rogue agents at the FBI, rogue agents at ATF. But this went up to the highest levels of our government. Barack Obama talked to Susan Rice and Vice President Joe Biden and the Deputy Attorney General at the time about this. He said he knew that they were looking at Flynn and they were listening in on his phone calls, and specifically said, do we need to treat this case differently? So not only did he know about it, but he wanted to know whether he needed to make decisions and give directives about how to move forward with the Flynn case during the transition. And so
yeah,
I don't know what's going to happen in terms of holding these people accountable. It seems like they never are held accountable. Yet Andrew McCabe's case closed yesterday at the same time that Michael Flynn's case was dropped. You had Attorney General Barr yesterday on CBS saying that, look, even if we have a bunch of information that looks bad and, quote, stinks to high heaven, still have to apply the same standard of justice and prove it beyond a reasonable.
Right. Think about this. Scooter Libby, my colleague in the Bush administration, went to jail, not because he leaked something, because we all know it was Richard Armitage, the Deputy Secretary of State, who actually did the leaking. Scooter Libby goes to jail because they feel like they catch him in perjury. Now compare that. That's a Republican who has to go to jail. Compare that to Jim Comey, the very top of the FBI, Sally Yates, Susan Rice, go through the whole cast of characters. They're running these agencies, breaking the law. Nobody goes to jail for a day. Sally Yates says she's uncomfortable because she has to talk about her management of the FBI in front of President Trump, as if that was inappropriate for Trump to ask questions about what was going on at the FBI. But she was plenty fine with briefing Barack Obama on exactly what was happening. This hypocrisy stinks.
Well, they don't want President Trump asking questions about the FBI, because then President Trump would have found out at the time that they had this major scheme going. And the other thing, Matt, about this entire thing, and a lot of what information that came out yesterday we'd seen before, but the bottom line is they didn't have a case in December 2016 on Flynn. They knew that there was no Russia collusion on that at the same time. And yet we still moved forward with a special counsel investigation that took up a ton of time, that ultimately, failed and led to impeachment, because Democrats like Adam Schiff had to then say, well, now we don't have anything, so we have to move forward with impeachment on this phone call that the president had, which, of course, impeachment happened in January when the Chinese Wuhan coronavirus was creeping into the country, and all of Congress, including the head of the House Intelligence Committee, was worried about impeachment rather than putting on a show for the cameras, rather than figuring out how we were going to deal with this problem that has now shut down the entire economy, which it seems like a lot of Democrats are fine with, by the way. And so the idea that we had all of this knowledge and information, well, we didn't, but that the FBI did, and we not only moved forward with the Flynn witch hunt, but then we went into a special counsel investigation when we had all this information from the Obama administration, from Barack Obama, that there was nothing there. And again, they say, well, Flynn lied about his contact with a Russian ambassador during the transition. He was a national security advisor incoming. He's supposed to call people from all over the world, including the Russian ambassador. And if he wasn't doing that, he wouldn't have been doing his job to prepare the Trump administration to take over from.
Wait a minute. So Mike Flynn, coming in as the national security advisor, is supposedly breaking the law by talking to his counterpart in the important country of Russia. But John Kerry, who's the former Secretary of State, can carry on diplomatic negotiations for the Democratic Party with the terrorist government mullahs in Iran, and that's fine. This is insanity.
Yeah, well, John Kerry in February at the Munich Security Council was meeting with Zarif at that conference. I mean, he's running a shadow diplomacy, telling them to wait it out. Democrats somehow think that having two presidents at a time is protecting democracy and standing up for the votes of the people. And over again, we see that they're lying, and everything they've accused us of doing, Republicans of doing, they've been doing themselves. Yeah,
this is the rule. There's a couple rules we keep bringing up. There's themes in these shows. And Katie, we know you've got to get on with your really jam-packed day, but Republicans go to jail, right? Democrats get book deals.
Right.
Democrats chastise Republicans for the very things they do. They colluded with foreign governments to stop Donald Trump. They destroyed the Constitution, literally ripped it up like Nancy Pelosi did that speech. They rip up our constitutional rights for their own political ends, but then accuse us of it. And Republicans have always been so stupid that the question is so outlandish that we just kind of get quiet and we kind of huddle, thinking, well, this is crazy. Thank God Trump fights is all I can say. Thank God.
Right, because I mean, now these accusations, it's like we take it as, how could that ever be thought of me? But really, it's an attack, a false attack to smear your character and take away power. And they will do anything. They will stop at nothing to gain power. And look, Andrew McCabe, one of the top guys involved in all of this stuff, while he was under criminal investigation, CNN hired him as a contributor to talk about his own case and to talk.
I've sat in the green room with Andy McCabe at CNN, which has not been calling me very much lately, by the way. And you know how awkward it is to be in a green room with John Brennan and Andy McCabe and all these types of people? It's like, I feel like I should be visiting a prison, Katie, and not being in a CNN green room.
Sunday one day, and I knew he was in it. So I got to the makeup room early so I wouldn't have to see him.
That's good. We have to break with you. We know you've got to move. We want to have you back on the show. Absolutely. Our CPAC community just loves you, Katie. Keep up the great work. We're going to now show you a video, and Katie, you got to watch this because I'm sure you've seen it. We're going to show you a video that brings up why old guys like me remember that Joe Biden doesn't just forget things. Joe Biden is a liar, and he has lied substantially every time at every phase in his young and in his public life, and every time he's run for president. So watch this video.
Explaining to do. The new questions stem from taped remarks of Biden during an April campaign appearance in New Hampshire.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
Welcome back to CPAC Live. As we all know, it's Mother's Day on Sunday, and I am now surrounded by the most important mothers in my life, including my mother in Wichita, Kansas. Hi, Mom.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Merce.
Hi, Grandma. We miss you.
We haven't seen you.
I know. It's been not good, but I'm gonna get there. Trust me. You'll be sorry.
Get in your Honda and drive out here just as soon as you can, because we miss you, or we're gonna rent a RV and go visit Lala Nabu in Miami and you out in Wichita.
There's a lot of homeschooling opportunities if you want to come teach fourth grade math. Where I'm looking for a math teacher. So, I think this is the realities that so many of these families are facing across the country. I know, Grandma, you've been very careful about making sure that you're following the CDC guidelines and ensuring that you're social distancing. And, there's been good and bad associated with all of this when it comes to coronavirus. But you also talked to us yesterday about, gosh, you guys got to get this economy going again. I mean, we just saw the job numbers today, and
20 million really, more people out of work.
It's very heartbreaking. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I got to get back to the RV and the car for a second. I just want to tell you there's something I saw on the internet, which I love. And that is, this is very good for me. I'm getting 3 weeks to the gallon on my Honda.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I thought I'd share that. There are some good things that are happening. Yes, people like me, I'll be 80 shortly. We need to stay back a little longer, but the rest of you need to get out there and get to work and get this country back. This whole staying off from work and the unemployment is, I think, more dangerous to the country at this point than the COVID. And we're going to have to, if it's not going to go away, we're going to have to learn to live with it anyway. But I believe it's going away. As you said, Mercy, vitamin D, get that going in your life. And then I have one other thing.
For the record, I'm not a doctor, but I was reading somewhere that vitamin D is actually very good as a measure. But I don't want to give any medical advice. Please go to your doctor.
My doctor a year ago told me that I was vitamin D deficient, and because you went and bought the medicine.
Yes, that's right.
I'm deficient in lots of things, But that's the one thing he said. That's the one thing he said that really studies show that I think as we age, you can be deficient in vitamin D, and it's interesting that that could be potentially one of the problems around the spread of this virus.
Well, I know I crave the sun, and I actually have figured out a way to social distance in my driveway, have some friends over, maybe some family over, and I actually have neighbors who will stop by and bring their own wine, and we separate out in the driveway. And that's been a really wonderful thing, and we're getting our vitamin D out in the sun.
So can I go ahead, Grandma?
I just wanted to give you one other message, and don't ask me how this happens because you'll all think I'm crazy. But if you look over my shoulder here, there's a picture of a woman who is my great-great-grandmother, and she actually contacted me today, heard that I was going to be on this CPAC with you, and she wanted me to tell you how proud she was of you, Matt.
Oh, that's sweet.
Your family and your ancestors, really, it would be your great-great-great-grandmother, are so proud of you and what you're doing, and we believe you're doing God's work.
You're sweet. I thought you were going to tell me she died of Spanish flu or something.
No,
I thought you were going a different
God only knows.
There is a running joke about that painting. It's a beautiful old painting, but we always would joke around that it was like matte and drag.
It is.
So that's how we, we would describe the painting back in the day.
We actually, as we know, our family probably wasn't successful enough to really have portraits. So there's got to be something to that painting. There's another story that we don't know.
Well, but Grandma, one of the things, and I'll tell you, Grandma is just the rock of our family and really provides great wisdom and counsel to our girls. So I want to ask you and ask your, Grandma's wise words on why Joe Biden cannot be the next president of the United States.
Does he know he's running for president of the United States? Maybe that's the problem. Listen, I think he's probably a very sweet man. I've always kind of liked Joe Biden. But first of all, he's got to figure out what he's running for, who he is, and where he is. And come on. I mean, you think he could handle this pandemic?
No.
You think he'd be capable of doing what our wonderful president is doing? It's absolutely scary. And you think he can bring the economy back? Maybe he'll put his son in charge. Maybe that would be.
Well, his son has a lot of expertise. He knows a lot of markets very well. Like he knows the adult lounge stripper market in Arkansas very well. I mean, Hunter's got real, expertise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe he can negotiate a deal with China. I mean, we joke around that it's like Beijing, Biden, and then Hunter being the next ambassador to China. I mean, the corruption there is out of hand.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just scary. I don't care whether you like our president or not. I happen to love him, and I happen to think I totally trust him on taking care of our situation going on right now. But if you love him or not, the alternative is so scary that we've got to reelect this president.
Let me ask you this question, Grandma, and really from our hearts, happy Mother's Day. You've got, 16 grandkids, 15 grandkids? You've got
15 grandkids, one great-grandchild.
There you go, greats and grands. And Mercy's right, you really are the rock of our family. And for me, everyone's heard me say this at CPAC, but for me, you were both a mother and a father. You played all the important roles in my life, and you're really my hero. And so I like the fact that you're handling the stress around this Chinese corona you're still having fun. I see your Facebook posts; they're fun. You're finding a way to put a smile on people's lives, But you're also, as you said, you're going to turn 80 in July. That's a big birthday. It's wonderful. It's an achievement. But you've told me in conversations, you probably were. You probably felt stronger and more energy and more sharper 40 years ago. Is it strange that in the midst of Chinese corona, where you see so many older people actually getting sick, is it strange to think that the American people would elect somebody who's basically 80 years old to be the president?
I think I can think of another word than strange.
Right. Hey, this is a G-rated show, Grandma.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, but I will say this in defense of age. It's not necessarily the number, but it's the ability.
Right.
And Look at the ability of Mr. Trump, President Trump, who is in his 70s.
Right.
And he's a very young 70. And Mr. Biden, who is in his 70s, later 70s, and he is not as sharp an individual. He didn't start out as, I mean, if you go back to his education and all, he didn't start out the class number one. And,
no, Mom, you didn't know that he was he claimed 40 years ago that he was honored as the top political science, that he finished near the top of his law school class, and then you come to find out he finished almost at the bottom of his law school class. He never got any awards. He didn't get
you know what
degrees.
his highest grades were? His highest grades were in making things up.
Yes,
his highest grades were
fiction.
Who can tell the best story that has nothing to do with reality?
Well, I think it's important.
Really high grade.
I think it's important. I think that video is very important for people to watch, and we'll make sure we post it everywhere. I know I tweeted it out, but it's as Jerry and Priscilla O'Shaughnessy, friends of yours, and Priscilla's on our board, have reminded me and really chastised me. It's not that Joe Biden is just getting older and a little fuzzy and he just gets confused. That's wrong. He has lied about all of these big things in his life. He was caught plagiarizing in college.
Yes.
I mean, this is a man who has lied at every stage of his career. And so it makes you wonder when he starts going after someone like Tara Reid or he calls Donald Trump a liar. It really makes you wonder about everything that comes out of his mouth. And what's the world going to think if we have a president like that?
Yes, and I agree. And I would say one more thing, because I think our time is probably growing short, sadly, to be with you here. And it's thanks to people like the two of you that I'm sitting here that I am so proud of, who are willing to step up and take the bumps and the bruises and the smacks and tell the truth. I truly believe you're doing God's work. I truly believe it's people like you who will save our country. So I am proud to say that you're my son for Mother's Day. Okay, I'm proud to be your mother. And I'm proud of the woman that you've married and the things that she's done. And, it's truth. I mean, I don't hear a word of untruth from your mouths. The fact that you like me and I'm a wonderful person is a great truth.
And people don't know this, but you taught me how to play tennis. You taught everyone in the family how to play tennis. You were a trailblazer because there wasn't too many female tennis pros. So you've made a big impact as well. And for my wife, I just want to say I'm really proud of what you do with the president's reelection campaign. I'm even more proud of what you do around this house with these children. Yeah. If you guys could see her tutoring the kids and going through the schoolwork, which I'm incompetent to help with, it's a pretty amazing sight to behold. So I hate this time of being in our houses. I think it's time. I think it's safely. I agree with Grandma. We can do this safely. People can go back to work. We should be able to go to all the stores that we want to. Those people who own those stores and those restaurants have the right to get back involved.
And they shouldn't be arrested.
Yeah, they shouldn't be
arrested. Shouldn't be arrested.
But all of that being said, the only positive thing in all this is that you realize that the people who are in your lives and how much you love them, how much you miss the people like your parents and your sister, the people in your family, even the people that live near us that we can't see. You realize how much you cherish them. And you also realize what a wonderful thing it is to have a job and to have the ability to get out there and make a living and help your family and help your loved ones. And it's just, we're just not America when we're deprived of that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I will give a little bit of credit here to our governor, but very little because I don't, we have actually, we have opened our churches. We have to, our St. Thomas, which can hold probably about 750. We can now we opened Wednesday, 250 at a time in the church. And we have learned, God's called us to prayer during this. And our churches are an important part of that. And now that we can get back to them. But I'm praying rosary with my family, with you all on the phone call with our son-in-law and family. My family is bringing me food. They're shopping. They're social distancing with me. Some of the food I get is even cooked. And you know how I love to cook. So it makes it easier. I
She
am
doesn't love
getting,
to cook, people.
She's
That's
not
a lie.
My mother
Lie.
has
It's a Joe Biden lie.
my mother has many talents.
Yeah.
The one that she never really
She
honed.
does like to eat good food.
That's right. Although
Yeah.
the other good news, and we're going to have to close this segment, but the other good news, Mom, is you've taken this opportunity to get very healthy. You got
Yes.
very healthy on the eve of CPAC where you were. You interacted with the person at CPAC who ended up testing positive for corona and made all the news. You were with that person constantly, or at least each day. And you, but coming into CPAC, you had gotten very healthy. You had dropped weight, and for whatever reason, you were protected from getting corona. Thank God. And same for my sister. Mercy's gotten healthy. I've gotten healthier. I'm not smoking any cigars because they say, you know, corona could have a terrible impact on your lungs. So, you know, maybe these are small steps of good things that have come out. But we're glad that we're glad that you didn't get it, Grandma.
yeah, I never get it. No.
G-rated.
No, but I believe it's prayer, and I believe I've been quarantined since the 9th of March. Probably.
All right, it's time.
So we've been.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're ready to. We're enough's enough. But anyway, Grandma Sue Schlapp in Wichita, Kansas. Give our love to all of our family.
Happy
Thank you
Mother's
for
Day.
being with us. Now I want to tell everyone that on Monday's show we have a great guest, almost as great as Grandma Sue. We have Larry Kudlow from the White House who's going to give us the latest. Yeah, great guy. The latest on the president's plan for an economic recovery, starting first with getting the economy started. So join us 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for CPAC Live as we welcome Larry Kudlow. And we really thank you so much for being with us. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day, Mercy.
Happy Mother's Day.
Love y'all.
Love
We'll see
you.
you again
Carry
soon.
on. Carry on.